Happy New Year!
And welcome to In Search of Insight, Nootropics Depot's monthly podcast. I'm your podcast host, Erika, and sitting next to me, as always, is our product specialist at Nootropics Depot, Emiel.
Hey everyone, and as you might have guessed with our introduction, this podcast is going to be all about New Year's resolutions. This is a time of year where a lot of you guys are taking a look at your lives and reassessing some goals that you might have that you want to achieve in the next year. Things like, I want to lose a little bit of weight, I want to drink a little bit less, I want to get a bit stronger, my mood should be a bit better, maybe my stress resilience can increase a little bit, or in Erika's case, last year, one of your goals was, I want to have a bit of a stronger immune system. Erika works with a lot of kids at schools. You were getting sick last year. That has not been the case this year, so that's been very successful. So we're going to take a look at all of those different goals, give you some suggestions for the supplements that you can look at, or maybe even behavioral changes that you can look at to get yourself to those goals. At the end of the podcast, we are also going to then condense it into 4 different stacks for 4 different goals using 4 different ingredients each. These are ones that I planned out to really give you the broadest level of effects for those goals. So if you're having a bit of a difficulty really putting together a stack, we got that taken care of for you. If those goals are the goals that you have. But we made it pretty broad, so hopefully that's the case.
And it's logical that our goals and what we're going to be talking about today is really fitness focused. But there are some overlaps when it comes to perhaps benefiting your mood. These products can sometimes also help you lose weight or sleep better. So even if you don't have exactly the same goals that we cover for your New Year's resolutions, there might also be some overlap there. So just keep an open mind. And the other thing that we also want to address is the fact that these products are going to help you make changes, but they're not a magic pill. Mm-hmm. So a lot of these products are going to have significant effects on sleep quality, on muscle building, on your immune function, but at the end of the day, it's really what you do that makes the biggest difference in your health and in your just lifestyle in general. And these supplements are here to do exactly that, to supplement the benefits that you are actually taking action on in your life. So with that in mind, let's get into the beginning of the podcast. And I want to know, what are your New Year's resolutions, Emiel, just personally for 2026?
So one of my personal goals is to have more interesting collaborations within the supplement space. That is something I really want to strive towards. We're already making some steps there. We recently had a call with Mycosymbiote, William Petila Brown. I think a lot of you guys probably know him already. He's a big player in the smaller supplement scene where people are doing things in a bit more of a DIY way, but then connecting it to the science. Really more of a citizen scientist approach. And I really appreciate that. And Will is looking into Saffron and doing research on it, and we're helping him a little bit there. With that in mind, I also want to take something on this podcast like we normally do, and with that really interesting connection that happened, I thought, why not explore saffron? And we're going to be talking about saffron a little bit during this podcast. I think saffron is a very interesting supplement at this point in human history. I think 2025 has been a little bit of a dark year. I think it's been a bit tough for a lot of us. I know for myself, personally, 2025 has definitely not been the easiest year with all of the tariffs and uncertainties, and I've definitely had a bit of a lower mood every once in a while. And saffron is something that really helps me. And for some reason, or well, maybe the reason is quite obvious, saffron has recently really started to take off. It's a spice that has been around for centuries. It's been used for centuries. Even as a supplement, it's been used for many years. Erika and I were looking back at when we did a podcast about saffron, and it was 3 years ago, before we even moved back to the Netherlands. So we've been taking saffron for a long time, we've been selling saffron for a long time, and a lot of you have responded really well to it as a mood booster. And I find it very interesting that after all of this uncertainty and stress that has happened in 2025, that especially in the US, saffron is becoming super popular because people are clearly looking for a mood boost. And in my opinion, having a better mood just makes everything in life better. For me at least, if I'm not feeling mentally happy, I have a hard time getting to the gym and getting stronger or eating healthy or exercising enough. So that is a big foundation for me. That is something that is also always a goal for me. So I also want to hear your New Year's resolution goal, but first let's take some saffron so it has some time to kick in.
Sounds good.
We take saffron every day, and we have for a long time. So I think if we take just one capsule, the effect is maybe not going to be that dramatic because we're a bit used to it.
Yeah.
It is a part of our normal baseline.
In fact, we already took it in our stack today.
Correct.
So we already have 1 capsule of saffron in our system. So what do you think is a good dose then for the most obvious but still like enjoyable benefits and perceptible benefits for the podcast?
I was thinking between 2 to 4 capsules. I've actually never taken a high dose of 4 capsules, but I have actually recently been playing around with one of the isolated compounds in saffron at slightly higher dosage levels that are getting closer to 4 capsules. So I think personally I'm going to try out 4 capsules, see if something else pops up that I can reflect on, and definitely it will help keep me nice and focused. And I find that saffron increases social ability, it makes it easier to talk, and that's a great effect on this podcast. So I'm going to go for a bit of a more dramatic, higher dose. What would you like to take?
I'm going to go for 2 capsules.
2 capsules.
Yeah.
So here is Erika's dose. 2 capsules.
Thank you.
And I will take slightly more. And this is a fresh bottle, and I can already, not so much in the bottle, but when I was putting them up, I can smell it in my hand. It has a very nice saffron aroma, and that is because of saffronal. And we'll talk about that maybe a little bit later too. But that is one of the major bioactives, and a lot of you guys have been wondering, is there something dopaminergic in saffron? And I think saffronal is one of the things that has more of the dopaminergic effects. However, saffronal is colorless, and all saffron extracts are pinkish, reddish, which is because of the crosins and crocetins, and those definitely have some more serotonergic effects. Saffronal also has some serotonergic effects, so in my opinion, you can maybe push the effects a little bit more to the dopaminergic side by having more saffronal, but I think at the end of the day, saffron is always going to have a serotonergic effect, and that's nice. A bit of extra serotonin, in my opinion, is really nice. You just can't overdo it. So, without further ado, me talking about not overdoing it and taking 4 capsules, but let's see what happens here.
Okay.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Okay.
All right.
With
Saffron
the
down
saffron on board,
Yes.
what is your New Year's resolution?
My New Year's resolution for the coming year is to manage my stress levels. I find that during stressful periods of time and at certain points in the year, my sleep quality really goes down, and I really struggle to just get to a less stressed point on an everyday basis. And stress just basically puts a damper on everything. It makes my sleep less quality. It makes it more difficult to just do daily tasks. I have less motivation. My mood is lower. And even though I take a lot of mood boosting supplements and calming supplements, stress has been the most pesky and stubborn element of my life, which I haven't really been able to conquer in a way that feels good. So stress management is going to be my number 1 goal for the coming year. And last year, my goal was just to stay healthy and to rest enough and to really let myself recover so that I could avoid being sick for, an extended period of time, sick with, different maybe viruses or bacteria, things like this. But basically, my goal for this year was to just let my body recover and let myself, take care so that I wasn't always kind of drawing from that well from the immune system, and I definitely did that. However, now stress is seeming to be my biggest enemy when it comes to just enjoying life and doing what I need to do on a daily basis. So I've already done some pretty intensive testing of a couple of supplements to help address stress, especially while I'm sleeping. And I've found out some pretty interesting things. So I've had a couple of pretty stressful weeks and I was having pretty bad sleep, and I was taking Cistamax capsules because this can help people with sleep, this can improve sleep quality and also respiration.
But does not actually reduce stress.
Correct. So I had been taking 2 capsules of Cistamax hoping that it would improve my sleep quality and help me to just take those stress levels down overnight. And it didn't work, actually. I had tried it for a week straight, if not a week and a half, and I wasn't seeing any measurable changes on my watch, my Garmin watch, which tracks my sleep cycles.
Which is interesting to note that I have given Erika multiple doses of Cistamax while we were developing it, before we did the podcast, and you weren't as stressed at that point in time.
Correct.
I think it might have still been the summer, and you still didn't have all of your classes back. But now that you have all of your classes back, Cistamax just isn't cutting it, which is really interesting because Cistamax was giving you like textbook perfect sleep scores in the beginning.
It was working really well, but now my stress has gone into overdrive and I need something that really directly addresses stress. So I started taking Sensoril at night for sleep, and that has had really obvious and dramatic effects. When I look at my watch and I look at my sleep score and I look at my different stages of sleep, I was actually getting a little bit of deep sleep and a little bit of REM sleep, which is absolutely necessary on a nightly basis, and I saw my stress levels go down significantly. So ashwagandha is definitely a really powerful product for dealing with stress, and it addresses that directly. So I'm definitely going to keep doing that and keep using Sensoril to help me just get better quality sleep. But I'm also interested in doing some more behavioral changes to address stress, and I've become really interested in mindfulness-based stress reduction, and I'm considering following a course. I'm not sure if this is something I can do at this point in time, but I'll definitely let you guys know because I have taken so many different kinds of supplements to help address stress, but at the end of the day, even if I take stress-reducing supplements, I want to be able to have tools and a mindset to be able to address stress that happens throughout my day. And I know that taking action is going to have an even more powerful effect than taking a supplement. Just like going and exercising really boosts my mood more than just thinking about a happy memory ever could. So taking that step to actually take action towards stress reduction, that's my big goal for the year.
And that's why I was mentioning earlier too, that we're going to be talking about supplements, but also maybe some behavioral things. And this is a point we try and make, I think, a lot in the podcast, is that supplements are tools to help you get more out of behavioral changes. So, like in our previous episode about Cyatherm, you can take Cyatherm, not change anything about your diet, just sit on the couch, not exercise more. You might see a little bit of a weight reduction, but it's not going to be significant. It's definitely not what most people are looking for. If you want it to actually work, you have to also adapt your diet and you have to change how much you exercise. And then when you add in Cyatherm, the benefits of the exercise and the diet changes are amplified. And that is similar to what Erika is saying. You could take as much ashwagandha as you wanted, and it will probably help reduce your cortisol levels, and that's going to make you feel better, but there is still real life stressors all around you that you need to get better at dealing with. So the trick here is using ashwagandha to lower your overall stress levels. It makes you think a little bit more clearly, and then once you are in the stressful situations, I like describing ashwagandha or supplements that reduce stress as being seatbelts. You have them in your stack, you have them on board, and then when stressful situations arise, you have a little bit of a safety feature there in the form of reductions in cortisol, increases in Kava, but you still have to do the work yourself. You still have to get yourself out of those stressful situations. And with doing something like mindfulness-based stress reduction or taking things like ashwagandha, you could probably be a lot more aware of what those stressful situations are and if you can get out of them. Because sometimes a lot of those stressful situations just shouldn't be happening. And with some behavioral lifestyle adjustments, or in Erika's case, maybe being a little bit more strict in her classes, that can then help reduce stress. And that's really the point we're always trying to make. You have it in your control. We're just providing tools to help you with those goals. Which is, of course, also why we're doing a New Year's Resolutions goal podcast. Because
Exactly.
these things are definitely very helpful. We've seen a lot of very positive changes in our lives because of them, and I definitely like having some thermogenics on board now. We've been taking cyanidin 3-glucoside and black ginger for a long time. It just helps me keep leaner, even though when I was exercising the same amount and eating the same amount, I wasn't staying as lean as with some cyanidin 3-glucoside and black ginger on board, which is very nice.
So before we get too deep into our personal goals and life story, let's just take a look at this list that we have put together of some of the most common New Year's resolutions that people often have at the beginning of the year, and products that will really help support your goals for those New Year's resolutions. So, to get started, one of the absolute number one goals that people have at the beginning of the year is to lose weight, and that's why gym memberships tend to increase dramatically in January, and you see all your neighbors going out for walks and runs in that first month of the year. We want it, of course, to go longer than just January, and there are two products that can really help support your weight loss goals for 2026, and the first one is Berbelean, and the second one is Cyatherm, and we've done podcasts on both of these products now, so if you're curious to learn a lot about these products and get the background information and how they work in long form, you can go back and even just search on YouTube Nootropics Depot Berbelean podcast or Nootropics Depot Cyatherm podcast, but we'll give you a little bit of an idea of how that's going to help you reach your goals just right now.
So Berbelean is really good for enhancing overall metabolic function. It enhances glucagon-like protein, GLP-1. So, we know a lot about GLP-1s all of a sudden. They've become very popular. Turns out you can also enhance GLP-1 secretions naturally. And part of that is by enhancing the amount of Akkermansia bacteria you have in your stomach or in your gut, in your whole microbiome. And one thing that helps with that is berberine, and that's why Berbelean was developed to then take that aspect of berberine and enhance it a little bit with some other synergistic components. And the overall stack helps then enhance your overall metabolic function and helps decrease appetite. That's really good for someone who's just starting with weight loss and looking to make some of the biggest changes right away. Now, Cyatherm is, in my opinion, the next step. I wouldn't necessarily start taking Berbelean and Cyatherm together if you have a lot of weight loss you want to do. Start a little bit simpler, but once you're well on your way, you might want to lose a little bit more fat. You might want to get a little bit leaner. And to do that, then you need a thermogenic. Thermogenics, they convert white adipose tissue to brown adipose tissue. And brown adipose tissue is very metabolically active, and that helps burn fat, turn it into heat. Thermogenic, they actually heat you up, and that heating up is fat actively being burnt. So that's a really good one if you want to, for more body recomposition. You want to become leaner looking, you want to look a little bit stronger. But then if you combine Berbelean and Cyatherm, that is probably the best overall stack for supporting both overall general weight loss and metabolic function, and then fat loss. So I think a lot of you guys are maybe going to be looking at this stack, and I would definitely recommend it. We really developed the products with the idea in mind that they would be combined. So they are definitely synergistic. They are not going to be clashing with each other. It's a nice effect. We've heard from quite a few people that are taking both that it really helps.
Awesome. And in a similar category, but on a slightly different island, we have a very common goal, which is to gain more muscle. And there are 3 products that we really specifically chose for this goal, and the first one is Eurycomax, the second is Cistamax, and the last is creatine. And we've done podcasts on Eurycomax and Cistamax. Have we done a podcast on creatine?
No, we haven't, but we might do one because there's a lot more interest in creatine recently, especially higher doses also being really good for cognitive function. Erika and I have actually been trying that out recently. I've been taking a 10-gram dose for about the last week and a half. It's been really nice. Erika has been taking it here and there. Interestingly enough, today you took a 10-gram dose. So has a bit more of an energizing effect, has a nice cellular hydration effect, and is really good for strength. It was the gold standard when I was in college 12, 13 years ago, and it remains the gold standard. And I find that really interesting. So I do think we have to jump into creatine again. And that's why it made the list. It's maybe not the sexiest, newest, most interesting testosterone booster, but it works. There's a lot of evidence behind it working. Now, the other two, Eurycomax and Cistamax, those are definitely some of the best formulations we've ever done, in my opinion. Cistamax is one of Erika and I's favorite supplements. We've been taking it for years, ever since we released it. It helps enhance steroidogenic enzymes that produce steroidogenic or steroid hormones. So one of them, of course, being testosterone. Another one later in the line being estradiol, also DHT, dihydrotestosterone. So beefing up that system helps enhance basically all of those steroid hormones, which is a really good fit for us. It helps with our strength goals in the gym, it helps with recovery, and for me and for Erika, I think it really helps with mood. So that's really one of our favorites for that reason. It also helps enhance growth hormone, which is good for your skin quality. It helps with sleep a little bit, although it's kind of failing Erika at this point. But for me, one thing I can say is my sleep quality is always really good. I take Cistamax, and I know my sleep quality is good because I also have one of those Garmin watches Erika recently mentioned. And unfortunately, I wasn't measuring my sleep quality before Cistamax, so I'm not sure how much of an impact Cistamax has. But one thing is for sure, I always sleep really well, and I know Paul always sleeps really well too, and he also takes Cistamax, so that might be a Cistamax thing. Now, Eurycomax is our take on a really optimized Tangadali stack. There were some side effects with Tangadali. We addressed them in Eurycomax, and we really enhanced the effectiveness of Eurycomax. I really liked Eurycomax. We did a podcast about it where Erika was also really enjoying the fact that I was on Eurycomax. I stopped taking it because it made me a little bit too reactive, a little bit too aggressive. I preferred the chiller vibe of Cistamax, but Eurycomax is a really, really fantastic product. If you really want to make some of the bigger changes in your testosterone level, it's definitely the more intense of the two. It's really good for libido, it's really good for confidence. So I think if that is something you have in mind for this year, you want to become bigger, you want to be stronger, you want to be more confident, you want to have more motivation, more drive in every aspect of your life, Eurycomax is really the one you want to go for.
So we're already getting into more than just the goal of gaining muscle with these products, because of course not only do they have benefits for your physical appearance and the actual muscle building process, but they also have benefits for your mood and your attitude and your outlook, because it's all connected. But let's go on to the next goal, which I think is really interesting, because it's a big goal for a lot of people and a really big change, and for other people like us, it's not necessarily going to be on our goals for 2026, but this is to drink less. And generally speaking, this is always going to be good and a healthy choice because, drinking less, that's good for you. With that in mind, Emiel and I are really getting into wine more and more as the months go on, so this is not going to be one of our main goals for 2026. However,
but we don't drink a lot. Like, it's not a problem, which is why for me it's also not on my goals. We drink a bottle of wine once a week. You know, it's not like we're slamming wine all the time.
Yes. So for those of you whose goals are to drink less, or maybe you're even doing dry January, or perhaps you're getting sober and you want to stay sober for a long time or forever, these are a couple products that can help really support you with that goal. And the first one being alcohol defense. And there's a really interesting reason why Emiel put this on the list. We'll talk about that in a moment. And then in addition to that, in addition to alcohol defense, there's a couple of products that can help you reach that goal of drinking less or perhaps even not drinking. And these are going to be substitutes. These are going to be products that are relaxing, that have a somewhat similar effect to having an alcoholic drink, but that are supplements that are coming from different sources that are not alcohol. And the first one is Relievex. This is a super relaxing supplement. Oh, this is actually something I should probably be taking on a more frequent basis for stress.
Yeah.
Relievex. Supercritical Coriander, another product that I really absolutely love and is definitely a powerful product. You can feel it if you're taking the solution, you can feel it basically right away, exactly the same as how you would feel after taking a couple sips of a drink. I find Supercritical Coriander to be a very, very effective stress management tool, and it's also something that's tasty and nice and can even feel like a little bit of an elixir, like a little treat before going out to have some, more social time, hanging out with people. It just takes that anxiety and takes the edge off. Kava. This is another product which is super relaxing. It's a little bit more subtle than Supercritical Coriander, but it's still a really nice option as a substitute.
Depends on the dose.
Sure, depends on the dose. Definitely. Kanna. This is a really fun one, and I definitely would recommend this one for people who are looking for like a really uplifting substitute to having an alcoholic drink, because Emiel and I have been taking Kanna before we go to the gym as a little bit of a pre-workout, and I can tell you, like, when we get into the gym after the Kanna's been kicking around for like 15-20 minutes, I'm laughing, we're making jokes. It's really helping me to kind of push through those barriers in terms of lifting weights, but it's also really fun, and I do feel like it gives me a more social kind of upbeat mood. And this would be a really, really nice one as a substitute for alcohol if you're looking for something that's uplifting and not just relaxing.
Yes.
In addition to that, Magnolia bark, also very powerful, very relaxing supplement. Shoden ashwagandha, again, super effective at helping manage stress. And Tauromag, which is also going to be helping to manage stress, but through slightly different, with some slightly different ingredients, including magnesium.
Yeah, well, only magnesium.
Only magnesium.
Magnesium N-acetyl taurate, which has a really interesting effect because it's very physically relaxing and helps get you ready for sleep. And I know a lot of people out there have a drink or two to help them get to sleep, and then it doesn't really have the intended effect because it doesn't really enhance your sleep quality. But Tauromag is really interesting because it's very soluble. It doesn't really taste like anything. So a really interesting alternative would be get like kind of a spicy ginger beer or like a ginger syrup or something like that. Make a little drink with that, add some Tauromag to that, and then drink that, and you're going to have the pleasure of having a nice tasty drink that then also really deeply physically relaxes you and gets you ready for bed. So what do you call it, a nightcap?
Yeah.
So a nightcap but no alcohol. And one of the reasons I put this in there, and it is a bit of a tricky thing to be talking about, but alcohol consumption is so readily accepted. I thought, okay, maybe we can talk about this a little bit, because it is definitely a big goal of a lot of people during this time of year. But more so what I'm seeing is that people are moving away from drinking. I think when Erika and I were like 18 years old, 20 years old, there was a lot more drinking going on than what I'm currently seeing, which is a positive change. And because of that, I think I'm also seeing a lot more posts on Reddit that say, hey, I want to take something that will make me a bit more social and outgoing, but I don't want to drink alcohol. So for that reason, for a lot of those people, here are some options that you can look at. One option that Erika said was a bit of a strange one was alcohol defense. I'm a little bit conflicted on alcohol defense because on the one hand, it will allow you to drink more and then you can take it after drinking and then have less of a hangover the next day. In my opinion, the hangover is also a little bit of a warning sign of like, hey, maybe you shouldn't be doing this all too much, and taking that away is not the best thing in the world. But of course, it happens that you go out to a Christmas party and you have a few too many drinks. Things get, as we say in Dutch, very gezellig. You kind of lose track of time and how many drinks you've had, and then you come home and you go, I have some stuff to do tomorrow. Going to take some alcohol defense, spare me a bit of pain in the morning, which I find a very good use, and that's really why we developed it. Now, if you reverse it though, and you take alcohol defense before having a drink, it really ruins the fun of alcohol. It basically doesn't feel like anything. You can drink quite a bit and the recreational effects are kind of gone. So if you're someone that really likes the effects and drinks because of the effects and might want a little bit less effects, maybe try taking a dose of alcohol defense, and it might just really take the fun out of it. And if you research some of the ingredients, there's actually some research on some of those ingredients reducing the level of pleasure from alcohol and reducing the amount, I think in rat studies, how much they self-administer. So that might be a good way of going about it if you want to cut down a little bit. But I think the position a lot of us are in is that alcohol is just such an accepted part of social life, and maybe we don't always want to do that. And recently I also had a friend reach out and say, hey, I'm having a dinner party. I really like having a few drinks, although right now I'm just not really drinking. Is there something that you can recommend that would allow me to still be in this relaxed, upbeat, sociable mood without drinking alcohol? And I recommended Kanna, and it ended up working quite well for them. So those are some of the things that you can look at, or just having something to relax. And I have to say, we definitely drank more in the past, and we now are experimenting a bit more with, hey, I made an extract of our lemon verbena from a plant that we grow, and it has a really gentle, relaxing effect. And drinking something like that sometimes is more interesting than having a drink or so. So because of that, I think we are definitely drinking less, and maybe it's also because I'm getting older. I just can't handle alcohol that well anymore, even though I do really like drinking wine for the flavor. But anyways, relaxation, especially in the evening, winding down, turning your brain off for the day, reading a book, maybe watching a movie, and being in a more relaxed mindset and not scrolling on your phone to get that dopamine hit, and having something relaxing, or like Relievex or Kanna or Kava, I think is really nice, and I see a lot of you guys enjoying that in the evenings.
So, if one of your goals for 2026 is to drink less, these are some really great options, either as a substitute, but also as, in the case of alcohol defense, a product that you can take which can help you to just sort of reframe the relationship that you have with alcohol, especially if it's something that you rely on a consistent basis to relax, to help deal with social anxiety, or just a way of seeking comfort after a stressful day. And this is a connection that has been really powerful for me to keep in mind when thinking about alcohol and why it is effective in those ways at times to reduce a bit of stress or to reduce a bit of anxiety. But the fact that alcohol is GABAergic, but there are a lot of other sources of GABA that are not as destructive and not as addictive as alcohol. And that's why we really put this list together, because for all these reasons that you said, the fact that alcohol is so easily accessible, it's just a part of so many cultures.
And it's hard to escape, too.
It's hard to escape. It's a really challenging goal, and it's a really challenging step to take to drink less. So these are products that can help you in that difficult step. And I'm really curious also if anyone's comfortable to share, if you're a person whose goal is to drink less or to get sober in 2026, have you considered supplements and that they could help you? I'm really interested to know if there's anybody out there. So, on a slightly less heavy but just a very general and important note, the next goal that we have that is, I think, quite common for people in the beginning of the year is to eat healthier. And yeah, eating healthier includes seeking out healthier food choices. It includes
not snacking as much.
There's
Not eating out of boredom.
Yeah, there's some significant behavioral changes that go along with eating healthier. And I really like the first product that you chose for this one, which is Infinigreens. And Infinigreens is a product that we started to take quite regularly. I know that you've taken it quite consistently.
Mm-hmm.
I'm slightly less consistent with it, but man, Infinigreens is an amazing way to eat healthier without actually having to make changes to your diet, because it's basically salad in a powder. And when you drink a glass of Infinigreens after a meal, it keeps you full for longer. That source of fiber really has helped my digestion, and I think yours as well.
For sure.
And it gives you all these nutrients that you're just not going to be getting if you are eating unhealthy beige diet. Infinigreens can really just inject a lot of those nutrients that you wouldn't be getting otherwise.
And my main reason for including this one on the list is really because it helps keep you full. And I've noticed this with myself. I've definitely been a bit of a snacker throughout my life. And once I started in the morning having a slightly bigger breakfast and then Infinigreens, I can basically go until the evening when Erika is back home to then have a bigger meal and then maybe have like a really small snack. So because of that, I've been able to reduce my caloric intake quite a bit, and I've been staying at a very consistent weight between 91 and 92 kilos, which for me is really my ideal target weight. And before Infinigreens and a little bit like 2 years ago, I was more hovering around 96, 97 kilos. So taking things like cyanidin 3-glucoside, exercising more, eating a little bit less with things like Infinigreens, helping me to control my appetite and maybe also just overall regulate my blood sugar levels. That's been really good, especially for me when I'm doing a lot of in-depth research or like really learning a lot of things. Our brains consume a very disproportionate amount of energy. I think between like 20 to 30% of your entire energy budget is dedicated to your brain. So if I'm doing something very cognitively demanding, it actually makes me hungry. But I'm not really like exercising and like burning those calories, like they're being used up in your brain. I'm not exactly sure how that necessarily works, but I definitely notice that on those days and I'm like, oh, I can't think, I have to have like a little snack, and then I feel a bit more refreshed. But for some reason with Infinigreens, it just doesn't happen. I can keep going and going and going, and I can really delay until the next time I eat. So now there's really multiple hours between foods that I eat, which is good because that helps increase your insulin sensitivity and you're not just constantly intaking food. That's a good thing. So that's really one of the main reasons I put it on. But then, as Erika said, having that injection of micronutrients and some macronutrients there is really important with Infinigreens. And it's just really good for your overall gut microbiome health and your digestive function and your stool quality. We've had some maybe some TMI conversations on Reddit, but we've been kind of comparing our stool textures based on I think the Bristol-Myers stool chart or something like that. And I'm blanking a little bit, but I think a lot of us are falling in type 4 with Infinigreens, which is really the ideal stool texture that you want to have.
So if improving your stool quality is one of your New Year's resolutions for
which
2026,
yeah.
Infinigreens. Okay, moving on. Within this category of eating healthier, the other products that you put down were Saffron and ALA. And I have a feeling I know why you put Saffron down on this list, and that's because of its mood boosting properties and the fact that it's going to kind of shift your mood and probably have some like habit disrupting effects in terms of like you're saying, when you're working hard or when you're trying to focus on something, it feels quite satiating and satisfying to have a snack in between, even if you're not actually hungry. But yeah, tell me why you put saffron on here under Eat Healthy.
So I put saffron in there because of its appetite regulating effects. And saffron is actually also a big part of Berbelean. So that's where a lot of those appetite reducing effects come from. And the way in which this works is that saffron helps increase serotonin levels, and serotonin helps regulate our appetite. I think that's also why a lot of people, like when they get a little bit sad or stressed, they eat, and maybe then that's because of lowered serotonin levels. That's just really a shot in the dark. I know there's probably a lot of reasons for that, but one thing is for sure, when we increase serotonin levels, you see a reduction in appetite. And there's definitely some studies on this with saffron. That's why we put it in Berbelean, but that's also why we're recommending it, as if one of your goals is to eat healthier, a big part of that includes reducing your appetite. So saffron is really good, but then of course, maybe a lot of people are eating because they're not feeling great, and it's the one thing that cheers them up. A lot of comfort food is really not great food for you, but it has this comforting effect. But if your interest in food is not as apparent, then you're not going to chase that down as much. And if you're in a better mood, maybe you just don't have a need for that. So that's really one of the reasons saffron is there. And it's also the same reason alpha lipoic acid is in there. So NAR-ALA or our cyclodextrin ALA, or in my opinion maybe the best one is our Optim ALA. It's our optimized alpha lipoic acid formulation that has cyclodextrin ALA, sodium stabilized NAR-ALA, and it has a sesame extract in there. And all of those work together to help reduce overall appetite and enhances metabolic function. So that could be a really good one to really kickstart things as well. And in this category, you could really also take them all together. Some saffron in the morning to reduce your appetite and boost your mood, then some infinigreens after maybe your first meal of the day, whether that is breakfast or lunch, and then maybe in the afternoon when you're starting to get a little bit hungry, take some Optim ALA, and it will give you a little bit of extra energy, and it will help reduce your appetite, and it will kick up your metabolic function. So those are some good options to look at. But really the main thing here is we can give some options to help reduce your appetite, but at the end of the day, you should be eating healthier. So really pay attention to the things you're eating. Maybe if you're not eating that many fermented foods, add some more fermented foods, add some more foods to your diet that have higher fiber content, that are going to be good for your gut microbiome. I think a lot of our foundational physical and mental health starts with the food we intake. It is the most consistent thing we do at the highest dose levels. Think about it. When we're taking saffron, I just took a very high dose of saffron, and it's only 120 milligrams. Erika took a slightly higher dose, and it's only 60 milligrams. We're talking about very small things. Whereas food, we're talking about things in the tens of grams ranges throughout the day. You know, we're eating hundreds of grams of food throughout the day. So those are definitely the biggest inputs, and that's also where a lot of things can go wrong. And it is nice to see that there is a little bit more attention being paid to this. I think we're not really approaching it from the right angle oftentimes, where it's like, hey, seed oils are bad, just get rid of them and then everything will be good. I think in moderation, seed oils aren't that bad. In excess, seed oils are bad, and I think that's where a lot of these discussions are trending towards, is the dose makes the poison. If we do things in excess, it's bad. So we want more balanced diets. We want diets that are higher in fiber, because historically, and just looking at modern diets, they are very much lacking in fiber. So that's a big thing that you can increase. And a lot of diets are very high in very soluble, quick-acting carbohydrates. Sugars, for example. So reducing your sugar intake but increasing complex carbohydrate intake is a good thing. A lot of people hate on carbs. Look, carbs are important. We need to eat carbs. They keep us energized, they keep us feeling good, but we want ones that don't have a very high glycemic index. So educate yourself a little bit on what food is, what kind of nutrients are in food, how that food impacts your gut microbiome, how maybe there's some other things in there that have beneficial effects. So this is something we've talked about in the past. If you look at a purple cabbage, it's purple because it's full of anthocyanins. So a lot of us are buying supplements because of the anthocyanin content. For example, cyanidin 3-glucoside or tart cherry. Or you could make some coleslaw or a stew, like we like to do, out of red cabbage, and you get a ton of anthocyanins. So there's foods that you can choose that have interesting bioactive molecules that can help impact your overall quality of life. Also, for example, a lot of the brassicas, it's a bit of an acquired taste for a lot of people, but they're high in very bioactive molecules. For example, the isothiocyanates. You eat a little bit more horseradish, for example. We put horseradish powder in our black maca extract, and it really helps enhance the overall effects. But horseradish is delicious. You can make your own homemade horseradish relish and put it on some more foods, and voila, you have a really good source of isothiocyanates in your diet, and it's tasting good. So, of course, if you also look at the Mediterranean diet, there's a lot of really interesting bioactive molecules in that kind of food. Oleocanthal from olive oil, which is having an anti-inflammatory effect almost as strong as ibuprofen, for example, and that is just something you can find in your diet. So I would say expand your diet, don't eat as many processed foods, try and eat some more whole foods, increase it a little bit more of your fiber content, and look at some foods that you can include in your diet that have higher levels of interesting bioactives. And then take some things like greens to helping control your appetite.
Awesome. Okay, so those were our general goals. These are goals that are pretty common as New Year's resolutions. But we're going to get into more of the specialist goals, and this is probably going to be a little bit more focused on some resolutions that you might have if you're watching this podcast, and if you are someone who takes supplements on a daily basis and who's really curious and proactive in learning about your own health and optimizing it for yourself. And the first one of these specialist goals, resolutions, is to improve mood, and the very first product is Saffron, and so this is an absolutely perfect bridge to talking a little bit about how we are feeling on our higher saffron dose.
I was just going to interrupt you and say let's talk about it, because I'm definitely feeling something now. I think maybe you can also tell in my what do you call it, speed, like cadence speed, like how fast I'm talking, it's increasing. It's been a little bit difficult with how early it's getting dark here now. We just had the winter solstice, so it's getting dark at 4:30. We were planning to record this podcast when it was still light out, because it really helps with my level of focus. Once the sun goes down, my brain and body just start shutting down a little bit. And that's also why I thought maybe saffron in a slightly higher dose is interesting, because it does really help enhance focus. There's some research on this, and I'm feeling more focused, I'm feeling more locked in, I'm feeling like a more of a silver-tongued effect. It's easier, I'm not searching for my words as much, and I'm really having a nice time connecting some concepts together. How do you feel on your higher dose?
I feel really good, and I feel a noticeable lack of this rushing stream of thoughts that distracts and kind of just pulls my focus away from what's actually happening in the moment. A busy mind, racing thoughts. This is something that my reducing stress goal is really gonna hopefully address. I don't have this sort of stream of consciousness chatter going through my head, and that is such a relief. And that is a really, really distinct difference compared to what I was feeling even before the saffron kicked in.
Interesting.
So even at that low dose, I'm just feeling like, okay, I'm sitting on the couch, we're having this conversation, I'm not thinking ahead, I'm also not thinking in the past, I'm just really responding to what's happening in the moment, and that's really exactly what I'm looking for.
Well, and Erika is saying it's a low dose, but you took 2 capsules of probably one of the strongest saffron extracts on the market currently.
Well, yeah.
So it is actually quite a high dose, and what I took is really like more of a mega dose.
Low compared to you.
Low compared to me,
Yeah.
but quite a high dose. And just to give some context, we take 1 capsule a day, and that works really well. It integrates well into our stack. But maybe if you're not taking that many supplements, or maybe in the beginning you want to feel some more pronounced effects, it is nice to maybe dose it at 2 capsules. I could definitely recommend trying it at 4 capsules. It is a very unique effect. I feel like very on, which is really nice. Also kind of like a pleasant warmth, or like this is maybe one at a higher dose that you could also take as a replacement for alcohol. It will make you more sociable. Like I could go out now and see some friends and have much more interesting conversations that I could have had an hour and a half ago when we were setting up for this podcast, and I was really in the mindset of like, okay, I gotta remember these things and make my list and put some stacks together, and but now I'm relaxed. I'm having a really good time talking. And with that in mind, I'll also stop talking because there's also the danger of waffling at this point.
For sure. Okay, so Saffron was the number one for improving mood, which you can see. I think our mood has visibly improved over the course of this podcast, so that's nice. Let us know if you see that too in the chat, in the YouTube premiere. I'm curious. The next one, this is awesome. It's just an awesome product. If you haven't tried it yet, you should try it. Really, you should try it. It's black ginger. And black ginger is specifically good for improving sexual function. And this is certainly a very effective way to improve your mood. But it also just has mood-boosting properties in and of itself. And, you know, improved sexual function is just one of those benefits. So black ginger has given me a lot of confidence and energy and just like this feeling of lightness. And I think black ginger is one of the most effective and powerful mood-boosting supplements that's in our stack.
Yeah.
So I would definitely highly recommend it.
We recently ran out of it, and it took me a while to get it back. I think we were off of it for maybe like 3 weeks. And then when we got our supplements back in and I put our stack together and I took it, and I just wasn't really thinking about the fact that there was black ginger in there. After putting the stack together every day for years, you just stop thinking about it. And then a few days went by and man, I'm feeling really good. Like my mood's better, I'm more focused, I'm more confident, I feel a bit warmer, which black ginger is a thermogenic. And then I realized, hey, it's the black ginger. It's back. It's this really nice, familiar feeling. It just makes me feel good. And I haven't really come across anything else that does exactly that, except Cistamax, which I think is maybe the next one on this list.
It is on this list.
Yeah.
It's not the next one, but yes, Cistamax is definitely on the mood boosting list.
Yeah.
And I can also attest to that too. Cistamax has been really effective at being a calming and a subtle mood boost. I think black ginger is just like pure happy, pure up, if I can describe it in that way. Cistamax is more of like it balances my mood and it gives me like a subtle lift, but it's not as in your face as black ginger. But Cistamax also has some really great benefits for fitness and for building muscle, so I think this one is nice if you're looking for more of a generalized mood boost and effect. Kanna, which we already talked about too, with one of the alcohol replacement options, but Kanna has amazing mood benefits. Like really, this one is even more effective and even more obviously mood boosting than black ginger, partially because of the administration method, and that's because it's in quick dissolve tablets. So we are taking the quick dissolve tablets and taking them sublingually, which means that we're putting it like under or close to like a membrane in our lip or under your tongue. And it's
so sublingual is under your tongue, by the way,
cool.
and what we do a lot of the time is buccal, more in your cheek.
Yeah. But this is a really fast way to feel the effects of Kanna, and to take that tablet and just like get that mood boost right away. It works great as a pre-workout. It works great as just a general mood boost. It definitely increases energy.
We take it when we go to a concert or a rave, and it really enhances music appreciation, makes it more fun to dance, which we had a podcast about this exactly, and Kanna was traditionally used in more dancing ceremonies, but also on long hunts to enhance your endurance, and that's also why it works well as a pre-workout, of course. The one thing I will say about Kanna, it is a bit of a fickle one, because like Erika is saying, the effects kick in very quickly, but they also go away very quickly.
Yeah.
And that is where something like black ginger for daily mood support or saffron really has the upper hand, because I can take one dose of that in the morning and it lasts all day long. With Kanna, if I take one dose in the morning, I have this big increase in mood, which is a nice way to get the day started, and it definitely leaves an impression throughout the day, like maybe a bit of an afterglow type of effect, but it is a bit of an up and down. And I do find if you take doses throughout the day, then the effects are a little bit too intense for me for everyday life. So for me, Kanna is more of a thing that I keep around when I'm not in the best mood or I'm not that focused and I have a meeting. Take a little bit of Kanna. Or if we're going out and seeing some friends or going to a concert and I just want to feel a little bit more uplifted and a bit more in the moment, take a bit of Kanna. So Kanna is really a nice situational one, a really nice tool, and basically everyone I've given it to has been really surprised by it, that it can produce such a powerful effect. It isn't a hit right away for everyone that tries it. Sometimes you need to prime it and take it a few times, but I've also given it to people where I say like, hey, maybe the first time you're not going to notice that much, and then they write me back. They're like, whoa man, I felt a lot the first time. I really wasn't expecting it to be that strong. So that's a really nice one.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Okay, so that rounds it off for the products that can help you improve your mood. And the next goal, the next resolution, which ties really perfectly into improving mood, that is improving relaxation. And yeah, there's a difference between mood and relaxation, because I think mood can encompass the whole spectrum. Being in a great mood, having a lot of energy, being really, outwardly focused and social, versus being in a bad mood and feeling frustrated and down and tired and stuck and, just discouraged. That's like the whole spectrum. But relaxation, this is really something which, hopefully you can just melt into relaxation and get deeper and deeper and deeper. And there are behavioral things that you can do, but some of these products are also really, really powerful at achieving that relaxation just in and of themselves. The first one is Kava. And Kava, I can say, is a very powerful relaxation product. We did a couple of videos on Kava and a podcast, and I don't think I've ever felt quite as relaxed as I did on that podcast when we took that higher dose of Kava. Like, it is intensely relaxing.
And I think there were even some comments where it was like, oh, you guys were really a little bit loopy later. And
we were chilling.
Yeah, but we were taking like really high doses. I think maybe that day I had taken 8 capsules or something like that, which really is too much for me. 1 or 2 capsules is perfectly fine. But we've heard a lot of people talk about it, that Kava is not something that we developed or sought out for the relaxing effect. That was more of a, once we tried it, we went, whoa, it is very relaxing. And that's because the diethyl acts on the GABA A receptor and potentiates it. So it has a very nice relaxing effect through the GABA system. And it is strong, especially at some higher doses. So we've heard a lot of responses from people that it's one of their favorite GABAergics and not a lot comes close to it, which I have sometimes said in the past, because Kava is a bit more of a specialized product and it is quite expensive, and its main uses are really for hair growth and skin health and things like that, that maybe Kava isn't always going to be the best bang for your money GABA-wise, but as time goes on and the more responses I hear from people, I do think it is worth it purely as a GABAergic, because it has quite a pronounced effect. But it is expensive, so that is just one thing to keep in mind.
Yeah, definitely. The next product that is going to help you improve relaxation is another favorite of mine, and that is Supercritical Coriander. We have it in capsules. Is the solution in stock as well, or not currently?
Not currently.
Okay.
We've been having a hard time keeping that in stock. One of the things I was saying earlier in this podcast, it has kind of been a dark year, and one of the dark things is that, unfortunately, the war in Ukraine is still raging on, and the supercritical coriander, or the coriander that was being extracted supercritically to make it, was being sourced from the Ukraine, but because of the war, that source is no longer around. I hope those farmers are doing okay, but there's a good chance that they're maybe not with us anymore. And that's a really dark thing to think about, not think about, it's a very dark reality. So we lost that source, or the extractor that we work with lost that source, and now they have been scrambling to find another source. They found a source in Bulgaria that seems to be a good fit. We already have the capsules from it, and I've taken it plenty of times, and it feels pretty much exactly the same. It's just that the liquid is taking a little bit longer. So hopefully we have that in stock. I know it's been out of stock for like almost a year at this point, but it's no joke how bad some of these world events and all of these, what do you call them? Tariffs and supply chain issues. It's been a lot harder to keep things in stock, to develop new products. That's been a major source of stress, which is why I think Saffron has been a favorite in the office for the last year.
Absolutely. So it's unfortunate that we can't recommend that you go buy a bottle of the Supercritical Coriander solution, because that is honestly one of the most effective and quick acting relaxing supplements that I've ever taken. I could take a dropper of it and I feel the effects almost immediately. But the capsules are still going to be very effective, and this is definitely going to help you relax for sure.
It's the same exact thing, by the way. It's just at half the dose. So the liquid is really good for getting higher dose, and because you're taking it orally, and I think you're also, like, once you put it in your mouth, it absorbs sublingually, buccally, and then you're also breathing it in, so you're absorbing it through your lungs. So there is a little bit of a different administration with the liquid, but at the end of the day, the liquid is being turned into a powder. The powder is more popular on the market. That's why we have the powder first. The liquid is taking a little bit longer. Liquids are harder to ship, to import, blah, 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 blah. But essentially they're the same. So don't take this as, hey, the Supercritical Coriander liquid is this magical thing that's not, if it hasn't been available for a while. You can get the same effects from the Supercritical Coriander capsules. Just if you want to match the 0.5 ml dropper amount, you just have to take 2 capsules, and it feels pretty much identical, with the difference being it doesn't kick in as quickly and as sharply.
Yes. Okay. But to piggyback off of this, the next product that's going to help you improve relaxation is lemon balm, and we do carry lemon balm in capsules, but also in powder still as well. And if you're going to take lemon balm in powder form in a drink, this also kicks in super quickly. And lemon balm is another one of those products which has been really, really effective for me, for you, for some people in your family. It's just an excellent relaxation supplement, and it's something that can help you deal with, like, acute issues when it comes to, you know, relaxation, but it also is something that you can take on a daily basis that can just help you to handle the ups and downs of life in a more relaxed way. And I think it's one of the most, like, effective and standby products for a lot of people who need that extra sense and source of relaxation.
And it's very budget friendly.
So to round off our last relaxation supplement, that's going to be Baikal Skullcap. And this one, I don't know as much about. I don't think we've taken this one as much between the two of us.
No, we've taken it in the past, but it's honestly been a few years for me. One of the reasons I put it on the list is because it was a bit of a sleeper supplement for a few years, but recently it's been gaining a bit more attention on Reddit. I see a lot more discussions happening about it, and that for a lot of people it's their favorite relaxing supplement, which unfortunately the last time I ordered supplements I was going to order some because I wanted you to test it out, but I forgot. So next time we'll get a bottle of Baikal Skullcap, because a lot of people say it's nice and relaxing, but it doesn't make them tired, which for some of these relaxing supplements, it can make people tired. And a lot of people just want to kind of shave the edge off a little bit, not get as tired, and then Baikal Skullcap is a really good one, although it also seems to be really good for sleep. So it has a bit of a dual purpose, but a lot of people really love the Baikal Skullcap, and it is a bit of a hidden gem.
Awesome. Okay, so we're going to go to the next category, the next sort of goal, New Year's resolution group, which is to improve cognitive function, specifically memory, focus, and motivation. This one I do think is a really great and exciting goal to have, because it's also really broad, and there are so many different products for nootropics people that can help you achieve this goal.
And this is another kind of dark thing that has happened in 2025, in my opinion, is I see more and more on Reddit, I see it at work, I see it with friends, I see it sometimes with myself. We definitely are overusing AI, and it is not having a good impact on cognitive function. It is making a lot of people lazier. I've noticed this in myself too, where sometimes when I'm doing research, I do it through Perplexity, and then I just kind of get in this like, oh yeah, Perplexity, but that's not good, because I'm not learning then. I need to go through and read the studies that Perplexity is linking. But it's so easy to get stuck in this pattern now where AI has got it, and then it almost becomes like a second brain, and your brain's like a muscle and it's just going to start atrophying. So I think one thing behaviorally is try to limit your use of AI, use it where it makes sense, but don't use it for everything. I've seen people making Reddit posts with it, I've seen people making comments with it, I've seen companies making content with it, and I think I've even read like a few newspaper articles where I'm like, that seems like it's written by AI. I've heard it from teachers around us that are saying, oh yeah, their students are just turning in very clear AI work, and it doesn't seem like the best thing. So I think in 2026, a lot of us can probably use a little bit less of that kind of stuff, a little bit less TikTok, which is really reducing attention spans with all of the shorts, and it's also reducing motivation. I've noticed this in myself sometimes too, where I wake up in the morning and I'm like, okay, let me scroll a little bit on my phone, and then half an hour has gone by, and it kind of becomes this crutch. It's really almost like an addiction, and I feel it in my own attention span. It's going back, and my cognitive function is still good, but I definitely need to keep up my cognitive function by keeping the hard technical things going and really having to search a little bit more myself for studies. So I think one of my goals actually in 2026 is to spend a little bit less time on my phone and do a bit more reading. I really like reading books, and just with all of this AI and news in the world, I've been prioritizing in the morning reading the news and scrolling through Reddit and looking at Instagram. And one thing I've already cut out is just scrolling through Reddit, because that just was not having a good effect on me. Instagram use can probably be limited a little bit, although it is very nice that I'm following a lot of people in the supplement scene there, and that's one of the reasons why I came into contact with Will, Microsymbiote, so there is definitely some positive things to it, and I will keep using it for that, but I definitely need to get away from it a little bit and before my attention span really starts going down, because I'm definitely noticing it. I'm also not watching like longer form YouTube videos as much. I really like the shorts. The algorithm has really been developed in a way, and I feel especially in 2025 in a way that is super effective, super addictive, and it is going to have a negative effect on society soon, in my opinion. So
absolutely.
Yeah. So that's why we're going to get into this category.
Yes, definitely. And yeah, I agree. I think one of the most obvious ways that I notice this change, or just this reality, is the fact that every day when I ride the train to work, I look around and there's maybe one or two people out of a train car of like 80 people who are looking around and not looking at a phone screen, who are just looking out the window, or, maybe closing their eyes or reading a book. And that means that 99% of the people who are, commuting on the train to work are scrolling on their phone. And it doesn't mean that it's inherently bad, but it's certainly having a very detrimental effect on our memory, our focus, our motivation, our ability to just emotionally regulate in general, and our ability to communicate with other human beings and be resilient to seek out human connection that is not mediated by a phone. With all that being said, the products. Omega Tau. This is the number one. Eurycomax.
Well, it's just the first one on the list.
Yes.
Don't have these in this is the top one, but yes.
Yeah. Sabroxy, 4-DMA 7,8-DHF, Cognance, and Mushroom Magic Matcha Baller Edition. Okay, so let's start with Omega Tau.
So Omega Tau is really like a foundational, almost see it as like a nootropic multivitamin. It's giving you all of the building blocks necessary for neuroplasticity, for cognitive function, enhancing your dopaminergic sensitivity. Hey, good for this social media thing that's going on. Just a really good overall booster. One thing I will say, if you don't respond well to choline, don't take it. I don't respond well to choline. That's why I can't really take Omega Tau, which is... It bothers me, because I really liked developing Omega Tau, and I can take it for a few days and it has a really good effect, but then it starts turning on me and it reduces my mood a lot, which some people have that with choline sources. So if you know you're one of those people, just skip Omega Tau. It's probably not going to be worth it for you. But if you're like 90+% of everyone else, the average population that doesn't have this issue, it's going to be a really good fit for you. You can see a lot of positive reviews on the website, on Reddit. A lot of people really like it. So that's a good foundational one.
Awesome. Let's go down to Eurycomax. Now, this one isn't quite as effective for you personally.
Again, no.
But it is super effective for many, many people, and it's why Eurycomax was one of our top sellers in 2025. Of all the nootropic sativa products, I find that Eurycomax is quite effective in improving my cognitive function, in the sense that I feel like a subtle lift, and I definitely feel that my focus is improved and enhanced by taking Eurycomax, even just in the moment. But this is something that is going to also have really great benefits over time.
Yeah, absolutely.
And this is because it's going to help improve nerve growth factor.
Absolutely. So Eurycomax, for those of you that don't know, is the first adenosine A standardized liquid culture mycelium of lion's mane. And adenosine A helps enhance NGF, nerve growth factor synthesis and release. And nerve growth factor is obviously important for growing nerves and enhancing neuroplasticity, helps enhance focus, helps optimize cholinergic systems. It's just really overall good for memory, focus, mood, attention span, all of these things. If you respond to it, which most people respond to it, I have no clue why I'm just such a low responder to lion's mane fruiting body and lion's mane mycelium. It really bothers me, actually, because I hear all of these stories of people having the most wonderful effects with lion's mane products and Eurycomax, and I really believe them. There's a lot of regulars that say this. There's people that I personally know. I see a bunch of people around me who are making their own lion's mane extracts, and they're really into all of this, and it just doesn't seem to work for me. That all being said, for most people, Eurycomax works fantastic. It is, one person described it recently as like a very smooth lion's mane experience. Like it just takes all of those effects of lion's mane, smooths it out, makes it a bit more pronounced as well, so smooth and pronounced, and I think that's a really good effects pairing, which is always also why we've had really good effects with putting it together with lion's mane fruiting body and tiger milk, which is also a nerve growth factor enhancing mushroom, in our Mushroom Magic Advanced blends, or the baller editions, what they used to be called, or I think they're still called that, but we're gonna change the names because we've also had some feedback from you guys that while you like those silly names, your family members that you sometimes gift these products to are like, no, this is a bit strange. So we're gonna, in 2026, also new bottle designs, very excited about that, but also some more professional sounding names.
Okay, so getting back to the products, the next one on this list for cognitive function is Sabroxy. We've talked about this quite a bit through different podcasts, and I think we even did a dedicated podcast on Sabroxy as well. So if you want to learn what Sabroxy is and how it works, go back to those episodes because we can't get into it quite as deeply. But Sabroxy is going to be a very effective product for improving focus.
Yeah, it's a dopamine reuptake inhibitor and it's a COMT inhibitor, and both of those mechanisms increase overall dopamine levels and overall norepinephrine levels, and that helps you get focused and motivated and dialed in. Really good one of my favorites. Always keep it on standby, always have a bottle of it. When I'm dragging a little bit, I need a boost, I take Sabroxy. You can also take it every day if you need everyday support with focus and mood and motivation. A lot of people have a lot of success with that, so it's also quite flexible in the way you use it. And it also goes well with things like Saffron.
Nice. Okay, 4-DMA 7,8-DHF.
So this is one you've maybe taken once or twice many years ago. I haven't taken it in a long time, but I see a lot of people on Reddit saying like this is maybe one of the most effective nootropics that we sell, which I just got another bottle of it, and I was thinking maybe we take it for this episode too, but we ended up going for Saffron. But it is a very interesting product. It has... yeah, kind of like this, also this cognance microdose type of effect, but it's also a little bit stimulating. It enhances neuroplasticity, it enhances focus. A lot of people do say that it is quite strong and taking it daily is not always the best strategy. It's more of like an as-needed thing, and the few times that I've taken it as needed over the last like 2 weeks, it's really hit the spot. It works super well, so I'm actually kind of hitting myself a little bit that I've lost sight of it and didn't pay much attention to it. It is a very unique supplement. If you want something that's more cutting edge nootropic, that's definitely a really interesting one to check out.
Awesome.
Also really good for mood.
Cool. Okay, the next one is Cognance, and again, we've made a really cool podcast on this. Emiel formulated Cognance, and this is, I think, probably one of your most proud creations, just in terms of the whole Nootropics Depot product catalog.
Yeah. And I wasn't alone in that, of course, but I had this idea of, we can make an Berbelean lactone, metabolized Bacopa extract, and we got a patent on it and everything, and it is a very unique product, and nothing like it exists on the market. And it was developed as having this kind of microdose effect, so similar to 4-DMA, 7-ADHF. And if you're listening to this, I forget your name on Reddit, but a regular, I am still going to try the combination of Cognance and 4-DMA, 7-ADHF, because there's been a bit of talk that could maybe be a good combination. I just wanted to get a little bit more familiar with 4-DMA, 7-ADHF again before I combine them, but I feel ready to combine them now, so I'll try that out soon. But I do think that will be a very cool effect.
Awesome. Okay, and the last one is Mushroom Magic Matcha Baller Edition, which has higher quality matcha than just the standard, and it also has some higher quality mushroom ingredients and extracts in there compared to just the regular Mushroom Magic Matcha.
And that includes the Eurycomax, it includes our Lion's Mane 8-to-1 extract, it includes our Cordyceps 10-to-1 extract, which is probably one of my favorite mushroom products that we sell. It's very physically and mentally energizing. And then there's Poria mushroom in there as well. And then what Erika said, really high quality matcha. And I particularly find that the matcha variety is the most nootropic. The coffee one, coffee one works really well too, but there's just something about that really high quality matcha with all of those mushrooms, it just clicks, and everyone who's tried it says the same thing.
Yep.
It is very expensive, but if you need something for an acute focus boost, like a study session or something like that, really consider it. It will work well. It's definitely going to work a lot better than the $4 or $5 coffee you're going to get from Starbucks or something when you're studying on campus or from your local campus coffee shop. This is going to be a much better fit, much cheaper still, obviously a high upfront cost, but I find it a very fascinating product, and I really could not have predicted that there would be the synergy that was there. I also noticed it actually in the normal matcha variety. Mm-hmm. I find that one to be maybe a bit like warmer and mood boosting, but the Mushroom Magic Matcha Baller Edition is like very sharp. Like it makes me super focused. It kind of like almost tunnel vision, but I'm not that locked in, which is a good thing. So I can still think creatively, but I'm very focused. And it goes really well with Cognance too. We did a podcast with Ellie, who unfortunately is no longer around. She's doing fine, she's not dead. She's just not with the company anymore. And but one of my favorite podcasts with her is we took Cognance and Mushroom Magic Matcha Baller together. That was one of the stacks that she came up with and she really liked taking, and I have to agree that is a fantastic combo for talking on a podcast, being focused, being social, but also very focused. So more of like a social enhancer in a professional setting.
Awesome. Okay, so that completes our cognitive function goal resolution category, and we're going into some more specialist categories, which I think this is really fun. The next one is to enhance social capabilities, and this also kind of ties into what we were talking about with cognitive function as it relates to technology and how many of us are spending a lot more time on our phones than ever before. The technologies for all these apps, social media, is getting better at following our behavior and creating more addictive algorithms. Now, I'm seeing tons of ads on my Instagram in between the posts of actually real people that I follow, which is annoying, but at this point I've kind of forgotten that I'm even looking at it because it's just become a part of the atmosphere, a part of the world of being online, and none of this is helping me improve my actual social capabilities with real human beings in real time. And for me, this is a really important kind of category. And this also falls into stress management, which is my big goal for 2026, is to improve stress management, but also to improve social capabilities, because I work with people in person, many people of all ages every single day. And this can be extremely stressful depending on the situation. So to improve social capabilities, we have a list of products, which I'm going to rely on this list as well just for myself in the coming year. Saffron, it's definitely helping me just form clear thoughts and like keeping the pace of our conversation moving on this podcast. So that's definitely going to be a great product. Kanna, again, this would be more so like I would recommend to use this on like specific occasions, not necessarily on a daily basis, but we really like it as a pre-workout, which I mentioned before. Yep. Also before going out, this can be a great substitute instead of having an alcoholic drink, just to kind of get your mood up and to feel a little bit looser and a little more relaxed and in a brighter mood. But this is definitely a pro-social compound for sure.
And I see that being recommended a lot on Reddit as well. And one of the reasons we did this category too is because this is one of the questions I've seen come up maybe the most in 2025, is how can I make it more easy to be social and out in public? I've seen it from a wide range of things, like what can I take to make me more comfortable around a girl that I'm going on a date with? What can make me more comfortable with my group of friends that we haven't seen each other for a long time? Or what can make me more loose and comfortable just being out and about in the world and talking to a stranger? And with a lot of what's going on social media, we have this social interaction world in our phone, which is kind of decreasing our hunger for social interactions in the real world, which generally makes it harder to have a connection with some people. And I definitely think something like Kanna can make you a little bit more confident, push you a little bit more outside of your comfort zone, and it might allow for some nice social interactions.
And I would piggyback off of that to say during COVID, like during the lockdowns of COVID and the years afterwards, I think generally speaking, everyone has suffered from less social interaction. There were actually some benefits of staying home and being in lockdown, I think, for a lot of people, including, less stress and less external stimulation, which did have some health benefits, and I think probably mental health benefits as well. But one thing that I know has been the case for us and a lot of other people is that it's just genuinely harder to get together with people, to make plans, to feel motivated to go out into the world, to go have a drink at a bar rather than staying home. And our social connections with our friends and our family are really suffering because of that. And I think a lot of that has come from the amount of time that we spent away from each other, isolating to just try to stay healthy and try not to spread COVID. But the effects of that have had really, really intense, detriments on our social capabilities and connections. So isoliquid can also be another product that can help to increase sociability. This one, it's not quite so clear in my mind what the effects really feel like, because we did our podcast on this like over a year ago.
Well, and we did the funny video at the Sense.
I remember this too. But one thing that we definitely highlighted in this funny video that we made about isoliquid was just that it has a kind of fantastical mood boosting effect to it, and it can kind of turn a normal everyday interaction into something that feels a little bit more special.
The way it's doing that is it's a GABAergic, but it's also acting as a monoamine oxidase B inhibitor and has some serotonergic activity and has some dopaminergic activity. And when you take it all together, it is a GABAergic that doesn't necessarily make you tired and has like a little bit of an energy kick there. And I think that's exactly what you want for something to make you more social. So in a lot of those threads that I've seen on Reddit asking for social supplements, isoliquid is pretty much on every list, as is Kanna. So I think those are really the two top products. You could also combine them. I think Kanna and isoliquid is a very nice effect. So that could be worthwhile.
And they're both quick dissolved tablets, so that's also nice. It would kick in quite fast.
Yeah.
The next one is going to be for people who really need a serious dose of motivation, and this one is Tribugen. we've both taken Tribugen.
Mm-hmm.
I find Tribugen to be like really, really stimulating.
Yeah.
So this would be more of like the heavy-handed option if you're really
Mm-hmm.
looking for something to just get you that like motivation to go out and do something and accomplish a goal. Tribugen would be a good choice.
And I think this one is a little bit more male-oriented
Mm-hmm.
because I hear from a lot of men on Reddit that this is a really good one because it helps enhance their confidence, which I think in social situations, especially around other men, having a high level of confidence is good. Like, definitely this little alpha male thing kicks in a group of guys, I've noticed. And if you're really confident and energetic, you're going to be a more sociable person in those settings. I don't think that is necessarily the right thing in every scenario, but if you want to be someone who has a bit more main character energy, then Tribugen is for you.
Totally. And the reason why I mentioned that this one is particularly intense is because it really does give you that main character energy vibe. And if that's not what you're looking for, then I wouldn't recommend this one. It's interesting to try, but it can be very intense in terms of effects. A slightly more subtle option, but only slightly, would be Eurycomax, which is also in this category. And this one is going to be that Tangat Ali optimized stack. So you're going to get the benefits of motivation and drive from Tangat Ali, but it's not quite as hardcore as Tribugen.
Yeah, it kind of depends on who you ask. For me, like, Tribugen definitely is a bit more pushy, like it makes me almost a bit cocky, which I guess in certain situations can be really good. Eurycomax is a little bit more mellowed, like it definitely gives me a lot of confidence, but in a more relaxed package. So for me, if there's one where I need to have a little bit more confidence, I need to have like a touch of that main character energy in a social situation, then Eurycomax is the one I'm going to go for. It is a little bit stimulating, it's a bit dopaminergic, but it's also a little bit relaxing, and I think that boost in testosterone, even in the acute phase, does really help bring another sparkle to a social situation.
Awesome. Okay, and the last one is Supercritical Coriander. We've talked about this quite a lot in this podcast so far. But I would say this would be perfect for people who just honestly struggle to connect socially in general and who find social interactions to be particularly stressful or intense, no matter what they are. I happen to be one of those people sometimes, which is why I was taking Supercritical Coriander on a pretty consistent basis, and it definitely just helps to kind of quiet those ruminating thoughts, quiet that sort of rush of adrenaline and energy and a little bit of panic, and just allows you to go, hey, you know what? It's cool. I'm just talking to someone. I'm just going out to get a coffee, or I'm just going to this party. I can leave when I want to. It just kind of helps you bring you back to your senses, which I think is really good in terms of improving social capabilities.
Absolutely.
Okay,
Yeah.
On the completely other side of the spectrum, our next category is to improve sleep. And this is also something that kind of goes along with my goal for 2026 of stress management. So let's just get right into it. So Tauromag, we talked about a little bit earlier. This one is going to be a great magnesium source, which will help improve your sleep.
So actually, I will say it is not a great magnesium source. Like, it's a magnesium source, but it's only delivering 43 milligrams of elemental magnesium, whereas, for example, we take 200 milligrams a day. So I think as a magnesium source, not that good, but the magnesium that's in there definitely adds to the effects. But the real magic here is the N-acetyltaurine, and it's being stabilized by the magnesium, and of course the magnesium is helping a little bit, and it's helping the magnesium absorb better, but it's the N-acetyltaurine, and it has a very physically relaxing effect, and it's really good for enhancing deep sleep. When we released this, we got a ton of reports on Reddit of people saying, hey, I got super high amounts of deep sleep, and the few times that I did try it, I did notice a very significant uptick in my deep sleep, which I don't particularly need because I already have high deep sleep, and if I then have really, really deep sleep, then I can wake up a little bit groggy in the morning. Although Tauromag doesn't seem to necessarily do that to me. Cistamax does, which I think is a little bit lower down on the list. But Tauromag is a really nice one. I gave it to my neighbor recently, he was having a really hard time sleeping, some stressful situations, and he said, hey man, do you know anything that helps? And he's someone who has a couple of drinks before bed, and that helps get him to sleep, and he wanted to get away from that. And I gave him some Tauromag, and he called me up the next day and he said, I just had the best night of sleep I've had maybe in 5 years. Thank you. So that was really reassuring for me. Just someone who's not at all into supplements, who definitely uses heavier stuff sometimes, like alcohol, to get to sleep, that they responded that well to Tauromag. And you see that with a lot of people. So definitely a very good option.
Okay, great. The next one is Sleep Support, which is a stack.
Classic.
It's a classic. It works really, really great. We need to get another bottle of it because we're out.
Damn.
Yeah.
So it's one we developed a long time ago. It works really well. We actually recently considered reformulating it. And then we had a few people on our team say, hey, don't do that. I've been using this product for years. It works really well. Erika said that. A few other people in our team said that. And a few of their family members said that. So we're not going to be reformulating Sleep Support, but we might come out with a different Sleep Support, like a V2, and then keep the V1, because it works really well. It's worked consistently. It's actually stayed in our top 50, I think, for a long time. Was it in? Yeah, I think it was. It's always surprising how well it does, and for a formula that's now maybe 7 years old, it's a really heavy hitter.
Absolutely. Okay, and then we have Cistamax and Lucidispore. These ones are definitely going to help improve your sleep, but it's not necessarily going to be effective if stress is the thing that is hindering your sleep.
Yeah. And then I guess I didn't really have anything on this list that would be really good for stress sleep. So to add on to that, Sensoril is a really good ashwagandha for sleep. That seems to be the one a lot of people choose. Maybe at a double dose though. Shoden can be really good too, but some people have more of a stimulating effect with it, and it doesn't really help them with sleep. Another one that you could do for more stress-related sleep issues is Smart PS. It has phosphatidylserine in there, and phosphatidylserine helps reduce cortisol levels and seems to be doing a really good job of enhancing stress sleep, which, good reminder, next time we order, I'm getting you some Smart PS, because I'm curious how you respond to that. But those are some extra options there. Lucidispore and Lucidamax, I put both of them on the list. Lucidamax contains spore-derived triterpenes, and I find that Lucidamax is one of the more effective ones for sleep. Lucidispore, for other people though, is really the heavy hitter for sleep. A lot of people love it for sleep. It is primarily being used for people that want to enhance sleep quality. It has even higher triterpene levels than Lucidamax, so that is a really interesting one to check out too. If all you want is sleep, I think Lucidamax is a little bit more of a balanced one, where you could take a dose during the day and a dose during the evening. You can do that with Lucidispore too, of course, but Lucidispore is really specific to sleep. But you can't really go wrong with either option. In my opinion, Lucidamax is a little bit stronger, and I've heard some responses about this on Reddit as well, but you can choose between either.
Awesome. And this, the fact that we've talked about Tauromag in a couple of different contexts also gives me some inspiration to try Tauromag in addition to Sensoril.
Yeah.
I'm really curious what that combination would be like in
we
terms
still
of
have
improving
some,
sleep.
so you can try
Awesome.
some.
Okay, the next category, improving libido. An excellent New Year's resolution, if I do say so myself, for 2026. And black ginger is number one. Black ginger is super effective at improving libido for men and for women.
And for men, because it is a very significant PDE5 inhibitor too, it's very good for erection quality too.
And for the same reasons, it's also good for sexual pleasure in women.
Yep.
Blood flow.
Exactly.
It works for everybody.
Yep.
Okay. In addition to that, Tribugen. I was also thinking about Tribugen just in terms of the social capabilities. I was thinking like, yeah, would we want to suggest this as a product to take before going on a date to feel more confident? It depends on who you are, and it depends on sort of your baseline aggression level, main character energy level. I don't know. If you took Tribugen before going on a date and I didn't know you, I'm not sure that it would increase my attraction to you, because for you it definitely puts you like over the edge into like semi-aggressive territory.
Absolutely.
And,
it wouldn't be my top
much.
choice.
No.
And it wouldn't be my top choice for a libido enhancer either, but a lot of people on Reddit say it is the thing that has moved the needle the most in terms of libido. So if libido is low and you really want to rock it up a lot, and maybe Maybe it depends on your partner as well. If your partner is into some freaky shit and you can't really keep up, then Tribogen is maybe exactly what you want. So
awesome. And if we don't get dinged by YouTube for that, I will be amazed. So let's see what happens in 2026. And then the next one is a slightly subtler option. And I was also thinking about this too when talking about social capabilities. You said Eurycomax gives you a more like general relaxed sense of confidence, and I would imagine that that's also the case in terms of libido. Like it's still going to help improve libido, but it's not quite as intense as Tribogen. And yeah, this is going to just help in general because of all the reasons that we've talked about. And for those of you who take Tongat Ali, you already know this can help you improve just libido and drive.
Yeah, and one thing that we've noticed with Tongat Ali is that a lot of people mention that in the beginning there's a big increase in libido and then it starts going down. So one of the things that we did with Eurycomax is we wanted to extend those effects. One of the reasons why libido seems to go down after some time is because Tongat Ali can enhance prolactin levels and it can reduce estradiol levels. And both of those are important for libido. When prolactin is high, libido is lower and refractory period is a lot higher. And when estradiol is low, libido is a lot lower. So with some of the additions we made with horny goatweed and mucuna pruriens, the Eurycomax balances that and reduces prolactin levels, doesn't make them go up as much, and increases estradiol levels, doesn't make them go down as much. So for a more consistent libido booster, especially if you have some lower testosterone levels and that's your source of issues with libido, then Eurycomax is a super solid product.
Awesome. Okay. Our next category of goals and resolutions is to increase stress resilience. And there's two products here, which both are products that I take on a daily basis in my stack. And the first one is Panamax. This one is really, really great at balancing stress. It's not super like lethargy inducing. It definitely allows for, energy, but also a balanced stress response. And I really like that about Panamax.
And one thing with Panamax and with Panax ginseng in general is that the ginsenosides act kind of as mimetics of cortisol. So they can bind to the same receptors. They bind to those same receptors more strongly than cortisol. So it means that they go into the receptor, they bind to it, and they bind so strongly that when cortisol floats around and tries and knocks it off and bind to that receptor, it doesn't work. So now you have a reduced cortisol response because cortisol just can't bind to that occupied receptor. But what's interesting is that the ginsenosides do produce a small level stress response at those receptors, which is important because stress exists on a bell curve. So if you're very low stress, you're actually lethargic, anhedonic usually, you don't have much zest for life. And then if you go up and up and up, you start getting a little bit more excitable, you have a bit more energy, you're just more locked in. And maybe a lot of you have noticed this if you have a deadline coming up. Leading up to the deadline, if it's really far away, you're like, yeah, it's fine. And the closer it gets, you start kind of going up that stress curve, and then once you hit the top, you're really locked in. But then you can start falling down when stress levels get really high, and then everything starts falling apart again. You get more anxious, your sleep gets bad, your immune system is more vulnerable to intrusion. All of these bad things happen at the opposite side of the scale. So Panamax is really interesting that it can kind of keep you a little bit more at that perfect level, but if you have very high stress levels like Erika, it will help prevent tipping over into that scale, but it's not necessarily going to maybe bring you a little bit more down, which is what Erika needed, which then the next product is Shoden.
Yep.
If you combine ashwagandha, like Shoden, with Panax ginseng, then you're further lowering the cortisol levels with ashwagandha, and then you're substituting for that cortisol loss, basically, with the Panax ginseng ginsenosides. So if you want something really sustainable and something that will be more adaptogenic, in the sense that if stress levels are low, you have the ginsenosides in Panamax to kind of bring you back up again, and if stress levels are really, really high, then you have more of that seatbelt-like effect from the Shoden, keeping you a little bit more safe in stressful situations. Those two go really well together.
Awesome. And I agree, and I recently added Shoden back into my stack in the last couple of months as my stress levels were increasing, and it certainly helped me to manage them. So I would highly recommend Shoden. We also recently did a podcast episode, all about our different ashwagandha varieties and what they can be most useful for. So I would highly recommend, if stress reduction and just stress resilience is one of your goals for 2026, to check out that episode, because you'll learn a lot about how it actually works in terms of the science behind it.
And of course, you can also take Sensoril or KSM66. I'm very partial to Shoden because I really like the research they did, how we helped them with that research, how we together helped develop better testing methods for ashwagandha. And I think from a scientific perspective, and I am a very scientifically minded person, that Shoden is the ashwagandha extract to beat. And that's why I always suggest that one. And KSM66 and Sensoril, they kind of sell themselves, especially KSM66, because a lot of marketing goes into that. So I don't really have to tell you guys to take that one. You've probably come into contact with it already. You've probably taken it. Maybe that's one of the ways you found us even. You took KSM66 from another brand and then you found it from us again. Anyways, KSM66 and Sensoril are also really solid options, but Shoden is something that is something I think we came out with on the market the first, so it is something that I feel much more connected to, especially because we did so much work with our team.
Awesome. Okay, and our last category for the specialist resolutions is to improve immune function. And this was actually a goal of mine from last year going into this year, being a teacher, working with children, just getting inundated with all different kinds of bacteria and viruses and germs all the time, every single day, and wanting to have some kind of effective tool to combat against that. Immune defense. This is a really, really effective product.
Yeah, and it's one of those, we developed that one, I think, also 7 years ago. We released it at the same time as sleep support, so it's been around for a long time. It's very popular. It works well. Definitely a really solid option. And beyond just being good for immune function, it contains a lot of things that are good for mood, things that are good for neuroprotection, cognitive function, pain, like palmitoyl ethanolamide is in there. That's good for pain. Nigella sativa, black seed, is in there. That's good for pain and mood and just overall general health. So immune defense is also something that you can kind of disregard the name and look at it as an overall daily health booster. So if you don't like taking lots of different products, but you want something that's good for immune, pain, mood, etc., then that's a really good option. Very complete.
The next one is Immuse, which we haven't taken much in the past, actually.
We haven't taken it in a long time. No. It is a very interesting product, though, and honestly, we should get it for you as well, and for me, because I did get really heavily sick. You could hear it on the last podcast. I was having a really hard time staying focused as well on that podcast, and then I was like super sick for the last 2 weeks or so, and still kind of recovering. So I kind of wish I had some Immuse on hand. But Immuse is a really interesting one. It's a paraprobiotic, so it's like a killed bacteria. Lactococcus centicoccus, I believe, is the name of it. It's been a little while. It used to be called LC plasma. Yeah, Lactococcus centicoccus. And now it's called Immuse. They've done a bunch of studies on it in Japan, actually, interestingly enough, on school kids. So one of their studies is they got a government grant to put Immuse in yogurts that children at schools were getting, and then they gave a few schools the Immuse-infused yogurts and a few schools yogurt without Immuse in it, and then they looked at attendance throughout the year, and the school that was getting Immuse yogurt, those kids were basically never sick. They had very low non-attendance scores, and then at the schools that were only getting yogurt, the non-attendance scores were much higher. So I think that's very interesting, and it kind of acts as like a master regulator of the immune system, and it's also really good for gut microbiome health from a lot of the reports we've seen on Reddit. So always a really popular one, really works well, and you can combine it with immune defense too, of course.
I'm really curious to try this one out. Let's definitely order some. And the last one on the list for improving immune function is Cistamax.
Yeah, and Cistamax is one that the few times that you've gotten like almost sick, you had like a little bit of a sniffle, I said, hey, why don't you try taking some Cistamax? And then you wake up the next day and it's basically gone. And a few days go by and you have a little bit of a sniffle and we give you some more Cistamax and boom, it's gone. So that, I think, has been saving you.
That's true. It may not have helped me. No, it didn't save you. It may not have helped me change my sleep quality, but I do think it helped keep my head above water in terms of not going under and catching the same sickness that you had, which knocked you out and both of your parents for like a week, and it was really serious. I didn't get that sick, and I was taking Cistamax every day. Yeah. So, good thing to consider.
Just beyond that, you can basically take any of our mushrooms. We do this as well. We take Poria mushroom, and that has just a bunch of beta-glucans in it. The beta-glucans are good for gut microbiome health, and they also have immune-boosting effects, and a lot of the mushrooms have immune-boosting effects. So you can take Cistamax, you can take Lucidospore, you can take the ultra-potent reishi, you can take Poria, lion's mane, cordyceps. All of these different mushrooms are going to have a positive effect on your immune function. Another thing that you could do is you could take like the Mushroom Magic drinks with matcha and coffee and cocoa in there, or you can do the plain ones that we have now, just the Mushroom Magic powder blend. We have the normal version and the advanced version. Either one of those, if you include that into your diet somehow, or maybe you drink smoothies every day, put a scoop of that in there, or maybe you're one of those people who likes putting mushrooms in their coffee, then that's a really good one, or tea or whatever. So mushrooms are good. Cistamax is maybe one of the stronger ones in terms of overall immune function, but other mushrooms will help as well.
Awesome. And that was actually the end of our sort of goal-focused supplements, because we've gone through these different New Year's resolutions: weight loss, building muscle, drinking less, eating healthier.
And those were the classics.
Those are the classics. Improving... the specialist goals, the ones that are probably more specific and maybe goals that you have, the people who are actually watching this podcast and who are taking supplements on a daily basis, would be to improve mood, improve relaxation, improve cognitive function, memory, focus, and motivation, enhance your social capabilities, improving sleep, improving libido, improving stress resilience, and improving immune function. And a lot of these products are also overlaps. So if you're curious to try some of them, think, okay, these are also going to help me achieve, this, and this goal, especially as I'm actually taking action to make that happen in 2026. Okay, so now that we're at the end of the podcast, we're going to go through a couple of stacks that Emiel has put together, and they're going to have some specific goals, but these are going to be 4 products that you can combine that really help to address these specific goals or resolutions that you might have in a very comprehensive way. So the first one is going to be fitness and weight loss focused. And the products that are included are going to be Cistamax or Eurycomax for mood, libido, and strength, Cyatherm for mood, libido, weight loss, blood flow, and cognitive function, Saffron for mood, focus, appetite reduction, and Infinigreens for appetite reduction, micronutrients, and blood flow. So this would be like the ultimate combination of 4 products that are really going to help you address your fitness goals and your weight loss goals.
And I think we went through those pretty quickly, so maybe if we'll put them in the description so you can see. Maybe this whole list we can put in the description.
Let's do
but
that.
Definitely these ones I think will be important.
Yep. So if you're really focused on losing weight in 2026, Cistamax, Cyatherm, Saffron, and Infinigreens combined are going to have a really, really beneficial effect to help you achieve that goal. The next one is cognition focused. And the products are Omega Tau, Cognance, Polygala, and Eurycomax. And these ones are going to help with memory, focus, mood, divergent thinking, neuroplasticity, motivation, and are really going to help your cognition. So if that's one of your goals for 2026, Omega Tau, Cognance, Polygala, and Eurycomax would be a great combination of 4 products to take. The next one is becoming calmer under stress. This one's going to be for me. And the products are Panamax, Shoden, Rhodiola rosea, and Infinity. This is going to help with relaxation, stress, mood, fitness, cognitive function, and energy without jitters. Gotta say, these are all in my daily stack, which is why I'm really interested in taking more of a behavioral approach to helping reduce stress, because I got a pretty solid stack, which of course Emiel has formulated and perfected over the years, and we're constantly tweaking.
The one thing you're not taking right now is Rhodiola rosea.
That's true.
I phased that one out just to see what life would be like without it, but I do kind of miss it.
Yeah.
It has a really nice energizing effect, but also a stress reducing effect. So the way I developed this one is it's going to be a stack that is calming, but is still going to give you energy, but not the energy in the way that's going to make you a little bit more stress reactive. Because I think a really important thing about staying calm and collected in a stressful situation is also being zippy and energized enough to deal with everything that's being thrown at you. And if you're taking a bunch of stress-reducing supplements and you're kind of like, whoa, man, I'm really relaxed, and then there's all of this crazy shit happening around you, that's also not necessarily good. So I wanted this one to be calm under stress, but being able to act in a stressful situation. So that's why Infinity is in there for some more energy, and Rhodiola rosea is in there for some more energy. And the B vitamins and rhodiola obviously help with stress too, so there's some additive effects there.
Awesome. And the very last one is going to be a stack which is combined going to build a social mood. So this is going to help with that social capabilities, what we were talking about before. Keeping your social connections healthy, finding new social connections, maybe dating, maybe going out and seeking out some new friendships, collaborations, basically everything that we need to be doing more of as time goes by and as technology takes over more and more of our leisure time. We need to improve our social capabilities, and these products are going to help black ginger, saffron, cognance, and isoliquidogenin. Black ginger we've talked about. We love this product. Definitely recommend it. It's going to help your life in general and all of the different social relationships that you have: mood, libido, blood flow, and confidence. Saffron, I think you can both, well, we can both feel that saffron has a really, really positive effect on mood. It's certainly been a more fun and upbeat podcast compared to some that we've done in the past, and I can definitely attribute that to saffron, so highly recommend saffron. Cognance, a great way to enhance your mood and your focus. And then isoliquidogenin, relaxation and mood. So these four together I think would really help with, just improving social capabilities, helping you feel a little more relaxed, helping you feel a little more open to conversation, and just, experiencing genuine connection with people in real life. So, with that all being said, that was quite an intense podcast. Thanks everyone for listening. Thanks for joining us, and thanks for just your continued support of this podcast and chiming in on the chat. We really like interacting with you, and we learn a lot from all of your feedback and questions. It takes us to places that we wouldn't go just on our own, so that is one of the best parts about doing this every single month, is just getting your feedback and input and responses. So don't be shy in the comments and in the chat and on Reddit. Our subreddit is r/Nootropics Depot, so go subscribe, become a part of our community, and ask your questions and share your knowledge and experience, because the more the merrier. With that in mind, I hope that you all have a very healthy and safe 2026 and a safe beginning to the new year. And let's hope that next year's New Year's podcast is a slightly more positive tone. I think this has been a really intense year for a lot of people. And supplements can definitely help lift us up a little bit amidst all of that difficulty. But it's really up to us to make the changes that we want to see. So don't just lean on the supplements, take the supplements, and then take action in 2026. That's it. We'll see you next month. Bye.
See ya.